Wake up early, catch the morning train. Same routine playing like a broken refrain. Monday to Friday, clock just ticks away. Years are passing while my dreams fade away. 9 to 5, eating up my life. 9 to 5, cutting like a knife. But I refuse to let it be my story. I'm turning pain into glory. Started learning, staying after hours, becoming wise, gaining hidden powers. Every meeting became my classroom, yeah. Every challenge showed me who I am. Yeah. Yeah. Took the system that held me down, flipped it over, now I wear the crown. Experience became my greatest tool. Now I'm teaching others all these rules. 9 to 5, transform my life. 9 to 5, cutting like a knife. But I refuse to let it be my story. I'm turning pain into glory. 9 to 5, eating up my life. 9 to 5, cutting like a knife. But I refuse to let it be my story. I'm turning pain into glory. Started learning, staying after hours, becoming wise, gaining hidden powers. But I refuse to let it be my story. I'm turning pain into glory. Started learning to glory. Started learning to glory. Started learning to glory. Started learning, stay learning, it came my town. Me down, leaving it behind. But I'm 9 to 5. Beyond the grind. Beyond, leaving it behind. But I'm 9 to 5.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to your first Million Made Simple. Welcome to this special presentation. For all of you joining us live here on the webinar platform, welcome. You can drop in wherever you're joining us from. And for all of you watching from LinkedIn, YouTube, we typically have a lot of people watching from LinkedIn, YouTube. Please drop your questions. My team is observing, so we're going to answer all the questions at the end. We have people dropping here from joining from Abuja, Nigeria. Oh wow, this is dedicated people because I know it's late. Yvonne, you are very dedicated because I know it's late in Abuja right now. So welcome to this special presentation. It's your Million Made Simple, the proven path to building wealth as a 9 to 5 professional. Just like the song said at the start of this presentation, you're all here because we refuse to just accept the traditional path as that's the only way that there is. We refuse to accept to be small. We are all out here because we want more. We were seeking more. So I'm going to dive right in so that I'm respectful of everybody's time. So just to get some like house rules out of the way, so we're not wasting each other's time. Now, if you're somebody who is very satisfied with the life that you have, satisfied working a 9 to 5, and then this presentation is not for you. If you're someone who is not willing to learn, to grow, who is not open to new ideas, then this presentation is not for you. But my guess is most of you here today, you've taken the time out of your busy schedule to be here today because you are one of us. You are somebody that wants to think outside the box. You know that your 9 to 5 is not the trap that keeps you stuck, but it's the platform that you could leverage to grow and build more wealth for yourself. Because as a 9 to 5 professional, you have a special opportunity. We've all been taught that the best way to go about creating a life that we want is just to go to school, get a job, work, and save for retirement. But we've quickly realized that that path is not a true path to creating wealth, because while we're busy giving up most of our lives trying to do that, we look around us and we see a different world around us. We see others that are creating massive amounts of wealth and not having to put in maybe as much time or as much dedication or deal with as much stress as we do. And that's why we start questioning, like, what else is out there? And that's what this presentation is for. Because yes, as a 9 to 5 professional, as somebody watching this presentation, you can retire with dignity and choice. Yes, you can have more of your time to decide how to spend it. Whether you want to spend it, even a medical professional, you could have your time back so that you could go back to practicing medicine like you got into medicine in the first place, not being stuck in this wheelhouse of running around in circles and depending on your employer for survival. Because yes, as a 9 to 5 professional, you could create massive amounts of wealth. You could build wealth while saving money on taxes. You can make money while saving money on taxes. I'm going to dive really deep into that today. And because we all deserve financial freedom. And yes, you could get financial freedom for yourself, not just yourself and your family, so that you get to spend the time with your family members, enjoying the things that you love doing. Aliyah, welcome. Thank you for joining us all the way from San Diego. Welcome to the presentation. So I'm going to challenge a lot of the notions that we've been taught. What if everything we've been taught about wealth building was wrong? You know, like I said in the beginning, most of us have thought, go to school, get a job, start saving for your retirement, save money in your 401k, invest in the stock market, and somehow this stock market is going to grow to be able to create wealth for you in the future. But like I said, we don't have to look too far to see that there's a different world out there. While we are busy giving ourselves, spending all this time at our jobs, whether it's in the hospital or on the computer screen, there's massive, massive amounts of wealth that is being created around us. And now this disparity is becoming even wider and wider, because now the busy professionals, the 9 to 5 professionals, are working as hard as they can. But as the data from the Federal Reserve shows, 64% of Americans will retire with less than $10,000 saved, because the expenses are expanded significantly to meet whatever income that we're making. That is 64% of Americans will retire with less than $10,000 saved. And if you've been out there to buy eggs today, you can tell me how far $10,000 is going to get you in today's economy. And 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That is relying on a paycheck after paycheck in order to be able to survive. The average retirement age has expanded. It has grown from the 50s back in the day to now 67. And it's not even unusual, even with the higher retirement age, it's not unusual for you today to walk into Walmart or a grocery store and you see somebody in their 80s still working, because they are exhausted whatever amount of money that they save for their retirement. So this story of retirement that we've been taught is leading us down the wrong path if we just stick to that path. This is the reason why the American dream, as it was sold, that it was marketed in the past, is no longer true. It's non-existent. The traditional version of the American dream was to buy a house with a white picket fence, where one family member is out working and the other family member is staying at home, doesn't hold true. In today's world, we can say the struggle is real, because we have two income earners in the same home, and the dual income families are barely able to afford all of their expenses. Housing costs have skyrocketed. The traditional path to wealth, as we've been taught, is broken. And this is not something that is unique to just the everyday professionals. Even high income earners are not immune to this phenomenon. A lot of high income professionals, according to the same Federal Reserve, 48% of high income professionals live paycheck to paycheck. I'm talking about people that earn more than $100,000 of income every year. I can attest to this, because I was a CRNA for 10 years, earning over hundreds of thousands of dollars in income. And I found myself caught in this trap. And that is when I had to think twice about this whole story that we've been sold. And 68% of high income earners cannot retire on schedule. In addition to that, to become a high income earner, we got to go to school. We got to accumulate all this student loan debt. And when we get out of school, we got to start paying down this student loan debt. And at the same time, somehow our expenses just creep up to match our income. It's like the lifestyle creep. For example, you graduate, you become a doctor. Now your family members are referring to you as Dr. Leslie. So that means you have to represent the title of doctor. And somehow you find yourself into this vicious cycle where you're earning and spending, and rotating over and over again with little to no to show for. Or you following the traditional path, investing in the stock market and getting maybe 8 to 10% every year. And then when a crash happens, like what we're experiencing recently, your retirement dip down. And this is the same circle over and over and over and over and over again. But Here's what we are noticing that nobody's talking about, and this has been happening over the last 6 to 7 years. There are a few hardworking professionals who have realized that the traditional path to building wealth is not the only path. They started looking outside of the traditional path and building wealth by acquiring assets or investing in assets, income producing assets that grow wealth massively over time, tax advantage income producing assets, and that is the path I was on. 7 years ago, I was hardworking practicing CRNA, buried down in student loan debt, over $200,000 in student loan debt, and working as hard as I could, working 60, 70 hours a week. I love my job. I enjoyed what I was doing, but I had to give up a significant portion of my life in order to earn the income that I desired to earn. Until one day I found myself at home watching my daughter, who was born right around when I started my career, just having fun, doing a lot of things at home, talking, walking. And I realized, oh my God, she can do all of these things. And I just realized at that moment how much of her life I have missed. I had spent all this time in the hospital earning this income so I could take care of my family, but I had missed out on a significant portion of my daughter's life. That was the moment that I decided that things had to change. And that was the moment that started the journey that got us, my partners at Excite Capital and I, to $217 million real estate portfolio. You see, as of 2 weeks ago, we just closed another $49 million real estate asset. So that increased our portfolio number from 168 to $217 million. So from $200,000 in student loan debt to now managing a growing portfolio of $217 million. And that portfolio is projected to grow to over $300 million in income producing assets by the end of this year. So how did I get here? How did I leave from being a 9 to 5 employee with over $200,000 in student loan debt to managing this income producing real estate portfolio and exiting out of my 9 to 5? The journey started by understanding this framework. This is a framework that I got exposed to very early on in my journey. My partners and I got exposed to, and it's a framework taught by Robert Kiyosaki in his book, The Cash Flow Quadrant. And it talks about the 4 quadrants with the E, the S, the B, and the I. The E is the employee, the S is the self-employed, like a 1099 employee, or the B is a business owner, and the I is an investor. Most of us 9 to 5 professionals find ourselves on the left side of the quadrant, that is the E and the S, and where we have to exchange our time for money. And the left side of the quadrant is the highest tax side of the quadrant, whereas the smart investors, the wealth builders, find themselves on the right side of the quadrant. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper on what each of this means. Like I mentioned, the E quadrant is where you're trading your time for money. That's where I was back in 2016, 2017, working 60, 70 hours a week, picking up all the overtime that I needed. Every time I needed more money, I had to give him more time. And then I found myself exchanging so much of my life that I missed out on my daughter's life because the only way I could make money was by exchanging my time for money. And then on the other side, you have the self-employed. Now, as a self-employed, you have a little bit more control because as a 1099 employee, you have a little bit more control about how you schedule yourself and all of that, but you still have to be present. You still have to exchange your time in order to earn an income. So and these 2 categories are the highest tax. They are the highest tax. I remember at one point our CEO, Dr. Julius Oni, typically makes a joke that he doesn't start earning income for himself until at 12 noon on Wednesday, because from Monday to Wednesday at 12 noon, he's earning income for his favorite uncle. I know who that uncle is. It's all our favorite uncle, Uncle Sam. And the more you learn about these principles, Uncle Sam would not just become your favorite uncle, but your best friend. So this is where most of us find ourselves. And this is where I found myself back in 2017, along with my partners. But on the other side of the quadrant, on the other side of the equation, you have the B and the I, the business owners, where you have systems that work for you, that leverage other people's time, and the business owner that has significant tax advantages, that earns a lot of income but don't have to pay taxes on those income. Why, as a 9 to 5 professional, you pay 40 to upwards, sometimes even close to 50% taxes on your income, as the business owners, you see business owners pay an average below 25% of taxes every year, but then they earn a significant amount of income because the tax code was designed to promote building of businesses, because that's how it keeps the economy running. And then you have the I, the investors. These are the smart ones who leverage their money to go to work for them. They don't have to be there. They don't have to exchange their time, but the money goes to work for them, and they get maximum tax benefits. Income is 100% passive. You could be on vacation having fun with your kids while your money is earning more income for you. Now, when I saw this quadrant, when I learned about this principle, I remember feeling an enormous sense of guilt because I found myself in the E quadrant. And if you're a hardworking professional, you're listening to this concept and that guilt hits you, don't worry. It's understanding the concepts. You're in the right place. And that is how I was able to get myself out of it. The most important thing is not to feel guilty and lock yourself out and not go out and do something about it. It's understanding where you are so you understand where you need to go. Now, understanding this framework helped me create um, a system, a system, a system. My partners and I created a system that we could use to tap into this while maintaining our 9 to 5, where we leverage our 9 to 5 to get on the other side of the quadrant without having to move or do anything. You don't need to quit your job to get on the B side of the quadrant. You don't need to quit your job to get on the I side of the quadrant. You could start working today by start taking the right steps to get yourself on the B and the I side of the quadrant. And here's how you do that. So imagine this is how I did it. Back in 2017, 2016, when I discovered this framework, I looked at the time I was spending in the hospital. I typically work 12-hour shifts, sometimes 16-hour shifts, sometimes even 24-hour shifts. I made a decision at that point in time that of every shift that I work, a portion of the time that I dedicated as an employee, is going to go towards B and I activities. For example, every time I worked a 12-hour shift, 4 hours when I started this journey, 4 hours of the income that I earned from the 12-hour shift was dedicated to B and I activities. That is investing, whether it's investing in stocks or in real estate, or investing in a business, which is like maybe studying stuff, signing up for seminars, hiring coaches, or starting off a business, but judiciously, without fail. Every 4 hours, that is 25% of the income that I earned from my E activities was dedicated towards the B and the I activity. And as you did that, as we did that, as I did that more and more, started off, that kept expanding. Now the B and the I keeps expanding. And over time, the B and the I expands enough to overshadow the E and the S. And at that point, you're financially free and you don't have to keep exchanging your time for money. So, right where you are right now, you can start leveraging the system. You can start using the time that you're already dedicating to your E activity. Use a portion of that time to start dedicating it to start investing in B and I activity. You know, because your 9 to 5 is your greatest asset. As a 9 to 5 professional, you are in a great position. You have a stable income. You have high credit worthiness. You have a professional network. And to get your job, to get to where you are, you have to develop analytical skills, certain skills that are very valuable in the marketplace when you apply it to B&I activities. So you have the right foundation to step into your greatness. You have the right foundation to start creating wealth. But you have to understand the most valuable asset you have. That is time. Because we cannot create any more time. So we have to start investing in activities that give us the time back to ourselves. So we use the time to do the things that matters the most to us. So that is why you use the time that you're already dedicating right now to your E and S activities, and you use a portion of that time to start investing in the B and the I. And over time, your B and the I overshadows the E and the S, and you don't have to keep exchanging your time for money. Because your most valuable asset is time. And when you learn the importance of your time, then you start doing what the wealthy do. Because this is what the wealthy understand. The wealthy understand the power of time. That is why I used to wonder, why would somebody go and buy a private jet or spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to buy a private jet? The reason Is because they understand the value of time. Time is the most valuable asset. Saving 8 hours of time, it's actually more powerful than trying to save money and you spend 18 hours on a flight, just so you're trying to save money. Because money, you can earn as much money as you want, but you can never earn more time. So you have to use the time that you have, create more income so you could buy back some of that time that you have. And that is why the wealthy, they understand this concept. That is why they focus on appreciating assets, assets that appreciate in value over time. They focus on assets that have tax advantages. They leverage these tax advantages in order to be able to keep more of the income that they earn back to themselves. And at this time of the economy, at this time where we are in the political climate in the world, this is where the tax advantages is even more important. If you're a 9 to 5 professional and you've not started understanding the changes in the tax laws that are coming and start positioning yourself to benefit from those changes, you are going to be in the wrong position. You are going to be on the wrong side. You're going to find yourself end up paying 40 to 50% in taxes. The laws are the laws. We can like it or we don't like it, but whatever it is, you have to position yourself to be able to be on the right side so that you could capitalize on this to grow wealth for yourself. And the wealth, it builds systems. Once you understand how to create passive income for yourself, you build systems so that this becomes a repetitive process where you continue to build passive income for yourself. And one of the other most important principles, which is very, very hard for us hardworking professionals to internalize, is the ability to use other people's money. When we go to school, we're taught to be very studious. Don't cheat, don't copy from somebody, don't collaborate with anybody else, work by yourself. And we take that same mentality when we come out to the workplace or when we come out to investing. I remember when I started my investing career, the thought of me collaborating with somebody else made no sense. I was okay with spending my own money to go invest in real estate, even though all the books I was reading, every coach I was learning from was telling me leverage OPM, leverage other people's money. But because of that brainwashing that I had as a 9 to 5 professional, it was very, very difficult for me to understand this concept. And it's a concept that the wealthy understand very well. Because if you look at the most wealthy people in the world, the Jeff Bezos of the world, they don't own up to 50% of the companies that is making them the wealthiest people. They own about 10 to 20%. But guess what? Because they've been able to leverage the power of community, the leverage of the power of other people, they have been able to create massive, massive amounts of wealth for themselves. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just copy what the wealthy is doing, and you're going to create massive wealth for yourself. Now, when we talk about real estate, like I mentioned in my story, when I started my journey and I wanted to create wealth for myself and I looked at real estate as a path to go, the very first asset that came to mind was buying a single family real estate asset. And it's same because of that same knowledge that has been impacted on us that you have to go at this by yourself. But here's why that's a mistake. When you invest in a single family asset, you are 100% responsible for what happens to the asset. Now, if that tenant, the single tenant you had, moves out, you are 100% vacant. So you have to pay the mortgage, you have to pay for all the utilities, and you have to pay for any other damages that your tenant did on that property. Then you wait until you get it leased up again. No economies of scale. It's a single unit. Everything that happens is that single unit. You might have some personal liability exposures with investing in this, and it's very difficult to be able to get active management because active management is going to charge you. Property management is going to charge you 10% of your income. So by the time you factor that into your cash flow, you have nothing left. So you end up managing a lot of this asset yourself, and you have limited tax benefits. And if you've ever managed a single family portfolio, you will understand that there's absolutely nothing passive about being a landlord. You have to deal with the 3 T's of real estate investing: tenants, termites, and toilets. I always make this an example that I still own one of my single family properties, which I still manage by myself. And I make the joke all the time, which is really true, that that property gives me more headache than our 100-unit portfolio or our 268-unit asset that we manage every day because of this same reason: the lack of economies of scale, the inability to be able to hire professional management to manage these assets for you. So, and the wealthy understand this. They understand the value of time. They don't spend their time managing single family portfolio. They leverage professional management. They invest in assets that are able to pay for professional managers to manage it. They focus on risk distributions, because when you have 268 units in a particular building, your risk is distributed across those 268 unit apartments. There is economies of scale, huge tax benefits, and these tax benefits are about to get even bigger with the changes that are about to happen in the tax system. These tax benefits are about to get even bigger. Again, if you're listening to this conversation, if you're listening to this webinar, this is one part you need to write down, because you have to position yourself to be in the right position so you could save for taxes. You could save more of the money that you earn, because the changes are coming, and it is going to expand the tax benefits that are associated with these assets. And I talked about economies of scale, institutional financing. There's a reason why the larger institutions are going after these assets. They've been going after these assets for years, because these are stable assets that cater to a core human need and that are always going to be in demand. And a lot of us 95 professionals, we've traditionally stayed away from these assets, because when we see these assets, we see millions of dollars, and we're like, these assets cost millions of dollars. I don't have the money to do it. And in the past, it was very, very hard for a 9 to 5 professional to be able to get access to invest in these assets. One, for lack of knowledge, because for some reason this information has not been taught to us, and two, because there were different barriers of entry that were put in place in order to be able to invest in this asset. But now it's different. Because Excite Capital, we have democratized access into these assets. Instead of you as a 9 to 5 professional investing through a fund, and that fund investing in these assets, so that the fund makes a certain return and gives you a small piece of that return and then keep the balance, as a 9 to 5 professional, you now have direct access to ownership of these assets and all the benefits that come with being the direct owner of these assets, because we are able to pool our resources together to go buy these amazing income producing assets. These assets that do not only produce income, but give us huge tax benefits. For example, we just closed an asset in Georgia. Our investors, for example, $100,000 investor, at the end of next year is going to get a K1 that says they have at least a $27,000 paper loss. That is $27,000 back in their pocket, because that's tax savings that they could use on any passive income that they earn. That is money back in their pocket, and that is not even calculated in their returns. And that is what the wealthy understand. That's how they position themselves to be able to protect more of the money that they make. And these assets produce enough income to be able to afford paying a professional management company to manage it. These are people that go to school, that have certifications, that are trained to be property managers. The assets produce enough income to pay for professional management. And as a 9 to 5 professional, you can start with as little, not as $50,000, not $10 million, not $5 million, not even $1 million. You start with as little as $50,000, and you can invest in these assets now using cash. You can even use your old retirement accounts. You can use a solo 401k as a self-employed. You can use your solo 401k to get access into these institutional grade assets, and you start receiving the benefits from day one. Because from day one, you are investing in a business that caters to a core human need, a business where the customers sign a contract to be customers for 12 months. You're investing in a business where the customers sign a contract to be customers for 12 months. That means they have to keep paying you for 12 months. This is the power of investing in multifamily assets. And now, as a busy professional, you have access to this asset. The moment we understood that this was available and we didn't know about it, we decided to create this platform so that we could democratize access into these assets. And we do that by encouraging all those who could invest. All of you watching this live stream or watching the recording, encouraging you to do your own research and start investing in these assets. We provide the education that will help you to prepare, to be ready, so that when these opportunities come, you can capitalize on it and start building wealth that you create that you don't have to exchange your time to create, and then we bring the opportunities together where we empower others to join us on the ownership group of these assets. Because our goal when we discover these assets is to bridge the wealth gap by exposing many of our other 9 to 5 colleagues to the ability to create wealth by these assets. I remember when we started on this journey, we went to a multi-family conference in Boston, and in that conference, there were thousands of people, about 5,000 people, talking about 10, 5, 15, $50 million real estate assets. And when I looked around the room and I spoke to a lot of people, I was reminded of the doctors that I work with, the CRNAs that I work with at the hospital. Very intelligent people, academically book smart. And I looked around the room and I saw these people doing millions and millions of dollars in transactions. And it hit me. They're not more smarter than my colleagues. They're not more smarter than the doctors that I work with. I work with some of the smartest people, some of the most disciplined people, some of the most educated people, but they don't have access to this wealth. This doesn't make sense. And that is why Excite Capital was created. And that is why you now have the opportunities to invest in this income producing assets. Over the last 6 years, since our inception, we've acquired over $217 million of real estate assets. And we're very, very proud to say that of that 217 million in assets, 80% of our investors are hardworking 9 to 5 professionals like yourself. And to these 9 to 5 professionals, we've distributed back $7.8 million. By the end of this month, by the end of April, this number will be over $8 million and keeps rising every month as we acquire more assets and take along a lot of 9 to 5 professionals. And over the years, we've been able to deliver over 41% in value increase for the properties that we bought and exited. And this is not done by magic. This is not done by speculation. It is done by a proven formula. And that is one of the things that makes this asset such an amazing investment vehicle. We use a value add strategy because we are buying a business that produces an income, and the value of that business is based on the income that it provides. So when we acquire an asset, we identify assets that has the ability for us to predictably increase the income over time. And we do that using a value add strategy. We acquire properties where there's opportunities to upgrade the units, and the upgraded units get a predicted increase in income. And we just go in and do exactly that. And by doing that, we are able to create massive, massive amounts of wealth. And this is what the wealthy do. This is what the large institutions do. This is how insurance companies create wealth or insure your properties and never have a loss. Because when they collect that insurance money from you, they're invested in these assets. And we're not just about making money. We are also about creating communities, because the only way you create sustainable wealth for your customers who have signed a contract to be your customers for 12 months is to build sustainable communities that caters to their needs, that listens to them, that protects a home environment to them. And we do all of this, optimize operations for the benefit of our investors. A true win-win solution, because we are building communities and creating wealth for our investors as well. And this is exactly what we did with this case study. This is the view at St. Andrews. When we bought this asset, it was called Churchill at St. Andrews. We rebranded it, redeveloped it, made it look nicer, renovated the units, upgraded the leasing office, added a gym, added playgrounds, added a bench for kids to sit down with lighting or when they're going to school, made it more for community environment. And by doing that, we were able to significantly increase the value of this asset over a 21-month period of time. Our fellow colleagues and 9 to 5 professionals that join us on the ownership group of this asset, when they joined us, we projected to give them an average annual return of 18.5%. But at the end of our business plan, we ended up giving them 29.97% average annual return. That is, the investors that invested $100,000, that $100,000 earned $30,000 a year in passive income for them. This is income they didn't have to give up more time for. This is 30,000 they didn't have to exchange a single minute of time to earn. That is what the wealthy do. That is the knowledge that we've not been taught. That is the knowledge that Excite Capital is bringing to our community. That is the access. That is the kind of access that you now have by being able to invest in these assets. And in addition to that, they got a huge tax savings. Our investors on the view after that first year of ownership got a K1 because at that point it was 100% bonus depreciation. So $100,000 investor got, guess what? $40,000 in paper loss first year. That's $40,000 in tax savings back to their pocket. That is not even including the 29.97% average annual return that they're getting. And that's exactly what is happening right now because at the time we had this asset, it was when the first mandate of Donald Trump, when he was president, and he passed the Trump tax cuts, which came with 100% bonus depreciation, which means investors in commercial real estate assets like this can depreciate a portion of that asset and be able to claim that depreciated value over in the very first year. Now, that benefit was phasing out, but now the Trump tax cuts that are probably going to get passed is bringing that back on a permanent basis. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now because all the large institutions are moving. They are moving capital outside of the markets and positioning themselves to start acquiring these large assets. I cannot tell you the number of some of these institutions that have reached out to us to be investors, to capitalize on what's happening in the market because the more you have capital now start running into these assets, the more the appreciation is not just based on the value add, it's also based on the capital that is interested, the demand that is in this on these assets. And in addition to that, if you know anything that has happened in the real estate market over the last 2 years, with interest rates spiking, the building of new multifamily assets completely slowed down because debt costs went extremely high. So we've had about a 2-3 year period where there hasn't been enough supply coming to the market. So we have a true demand and supply then imbalance here, where there's high demand because the population is growing. The population in the US keeps growing. There's high demand with the population growing. A lot of kids are coming to age, and most of them don't want to own homes. They want to live in apartments. So there's demand that is increasing, but there's not enough supply. So we're going into a climate where we're going to have high demand and not enough supply. Perfect to position yourself today as an investor so you could benefit from that at the end. And in addition to that, you get all these tax benefits. But all of this is all good and fine. And you might be wondering, how is this going to take me from where you are right now to where you want to go? So what we did is we created a calculator that will help you be able to determine um, your investment goals and how much you need to invest in these assets. Like when these opportunities present themselves, how much you need to invest to join the ownership group so that you can get to your investment goals. Because this method of investing would actually accelerate the speed of you getting to your retirement number. No more retire 2035, 2045 that we see when we go show on our 401k plans. With this investment strategy, you can accelerate the speed of hitting your retirement goals. So you could just click on that link, the Retire Wise, check it out, play with it, have fun with it. It's going to give you some numbers, and then you can start building those goals and going forward. So that's exactly what a lot of our investors have done, and that's exactly what you see here on this screen. Everything I'm telling to you is not concepts, it's actual. What has been happening. We've been running this platform now for the last 6 years, and the results are there to show it. For example, this is one of our investors that invested in one of the assets that we acquired in 2022. As you can see, he invested $300,000, and he has earned $61,000 in passive income. $61,000 is like an income. It's higher than what I made as a nurse when I graduated from nursing school. It's higher than my base nursing salary. But he has created this income passively. And for me to earn that income as a nurse, I had to spend 12 hours in the hospital, day and night shift rotation, driving about 35 minutes every day to work to earn that income. And now you have an investor that has earned more than that without having to exchange a single hour of their time in order to earn that income. That is the power. That is how we create true wealth, by leveraging your 9 to 5 income that you're creating right now to start generating true passive income. And in addition to this, he also got tax benefits when we close on this asset. I believe this asset gave a $100,000 investor about $33,000 in paper loss. So he got about $90,000 in paper loss from the very first year. So $90,000 in paper loss, $61,000 in passive income, and he didn't have to exchange an hour for all these returns. That is why these assets are such a powerful tool to create wealth. And it's not unique to him. Here's another investor that invested $200,000. Same story, different people, $42,000 in passive income, income that they didn't have to exchange any more time for it. That is the power of leveraging the income that you generate in the E and the S quadrant to start focusing on B and I quadrant activities. And when you do that over time, your B and I grows to overshadow your E and S so that you could exit out of the E and S and get your time back. And here's another investor, $250,000. Different investor, same story. You invest, you get passive income, you get tax benefits, and you don't have to exchange another time for it. This, guys, is the power of creating wealth through investing in cash flowing multifamily assets. It's the power of creating wealth through investing in cash flowing apartment complexes. But not every multifamily investment is created equal. You have to do your due diligence, invest with the right sponsors, invest in the right markets. For example, at Excite Capital, we do a rigorous underwriting before we take an asset to the marketplace. We sometimes we review, like our last asset we closed, we had to review over 2,325 deals to find that one that made sense. Because there's a real difference between investing in real estate and buying real estate. We invest in real estate. So as investors, we look for numbers. We look for numbers that make sense. We look for business opportunities. And sometimes it takes a lot of digging in order to be able to find those opportunities. But when we find the right opportunities, we bring in the experts, the professional management. Because guess what? The asset has to create enough income to be able to pay that professional management. We would not buy an asset that does not produce enough income to hire the best of the best. Because the philosophy is when you have the right team in place, then you have an investment that is almost guaranteed to win. And regular communications as an investor, it's important that you understand what's happening on your assets. I cannot tell you the number of investors that I've spoken to over the last couple of months that are on assets that are not doing well. And the biggest frustration they have is that they're not getting any kind of communication. At Excite Capital, we believe in the power of radical transparency. We communicate and over communicate. We've actually been accused of over communicating in some of the transactions that we did. They say, no, you guys are too transparent. And sometimes it might scare people because you over communicate, but that's who you want to invest with because you want to understand what's happening in these assets. It's not about investing in just one sponsor because sometimes the sponsor might not have a deal, but once you understand what's happening in these assets, you will use that knowledge to be able to pick more assets because once you do this once and see how powerful this is and it works for you, I know some of you will want to do some of what some of our other investors have done, just jumping on deals and invest and invest and invest and invest in these assets because there's nothing more powerful than seeing money hitting your account every quarter without you having to exchange time for it. That, my friends, is the power of wealth creation. And that rigorous process is how we're able to bring this asset, Growth Parkview, that we closed on a couple of weeks ago on the contract. This is the asset I referred to when I said we reviewed 2,325 days before we took this down. 268 unit asset has been, hear this, guys. This asset had an average occupancy before we took it over of 10 years for 95%. That is 95% occupied for 10 years. Talk about high demand because it's zoned to one of the best school districts in Georgia, has good schools for elementary, middle school, and high school, which is kind of rare. But this is one of those areas that has all of that. And we closed on this asset last week, a couple weeks ago, bought it for $49.1 million. And the total equity on this asset is $22 million. We have about $1 million in equity left to shut down this investment. No more opportunities after that. So if you are on this call and you are looking to invest, this is the right one for you to start your investment journey with, because you're talking about a stable asset that is already producing income. It's already generating over about $5 million in gross income every year with a strong professional team on site. We had to fight to get this asset because we wanted that same team that is managing this asset. So this is a great opportunity for you to get started in your investment journey. It's the asset that when you invest in, you're going to want to invest in multiple assets. You're going to be calling myself Tenny, Leslie, Dr. Oni, Alicia. Hey guys, when is the next asset? When is the next one? When is the next one? Because this one provides huge benefits and huge growth opportunities. We are conservatively projecting a 15.5 to 18% average annual return, but that's what we typically do on our deals. But this asset, I have no doubt that is going to outperform our projections that we're doing. So there's a link up there. Anybody that's interested, click on that link. You gain access to this chat. Again, there's just a few spots left on this. So click on the link. Go ahead and click on the link so that a member of our investor relations team will reach out to you. If you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, just drop a comment in the chat. Somebody will reach out to you. Or team, please drop a link in the chat so somebody can sign up. We anticipate that this is going to fill up in the next week or so. So get in and secure your position. So when we talk about investing, it's always this question this comment always comes. But this is not the right time to invest. I looked at the stock market this morning; it was going down. I heard Donald Trump is adding tariffs. I want to wait and see what the tariffs happen. We were hearing this 6 months ago. I want to wait to see what happens with the elections. But the interesting thing is this: every single time we keep hearing that. If you look at the movement of the larger institutions, it is exactly in those moments that they move. The Blackstones of the world, the BlackRocks of the world, they are going in and scooping all these assets. Why we sit back in fear? Carried away by the news, carried away by everything that's happening around the world, these large institutions are going in and scooping all these assets. I just mentioned to you that this is kind of unusual because we've had so many requests from large institutions reaching out to us and wanting to partner, wanting to provide equity on on subsequent deals, essentially wanting us to work for them, bringing the money so that we could go and acquire these deals and give them those returns because they are exiting out of public markets. They are seeing what is happening. They are seeing where the trend is going. They're seeing where the tax cuts are going, and they are positioning themselves to start benefiting from those assets. And you too can do exactly that. This is a great example of what I'm talking about here. The asset that we just bought, Growth Parkview, in April of 2022 was appraised for $60.7 million. And since April of 2022, interest rate peaked. The market cycle went down to the recessionary phase in multifamily. Now, we've been experiencing a recession in the multifamily market over the last few months. While the general economy is still booming, we've been hit, and it seems like there's that trend where you hit the recession in the commercial real estate, then after you start seeing different things in the general economy. We've been experiencing the recession in the multifamily space over the last 18 months. And in a recessionary phase, that is when the highest opportunities exist. That is why we are so grateful and excited that we were able to bring in our hardworking 9 to 5 professionals to be co-owners of these assets that we're buying 11 million below what it was appraised at the peak. So you can imagine the opportunities that exist for this asset in the future. And the same thing we're doing right now is the same thing that Blackstone did back in 2008. When the market crashed, everybody was waiting for this to happen, waiting for what Obama would do, or waiting for the election. Blackstone scooped in and bought all of these assets at a discount and made billions and billions of dollars afterwards. But this time is different. It's not just Blackstone that is going to capitalize on this. We now have access. We now have a seat on the table, and we now have ownership to this institutional grade asset because the hardworking 9 to 5 professionals, the hardworking colleagues in the hospital, and engineering colleagues, colleagues that work in different professions, deserve access to this institutional grade assets. And now, Excite Capital is providing that access. So, and there will be many, many more opportunities like this to come in the future. So, the way I see it, guys, you have two options. You can continue relying on the traditional path, keep trading your time for money, and put your money in one of those mutual funds that promise you to retire in 2075 or 2065. Or you can take control of your financial future. Because we are taught to go to school, get a job, earn an income, but we are never taught how to take control of our financial future. This is how you take control of your financial future. Educate yourself. Start investing in income producing assets that do not only generate income for you, but protect the income that you earn with significant tax benefits. So you can start this journey by clicking on the link on your screen, or if you're watching from YouTube or LinkedIn, you could text yes to 301 200 7203. That is 301 200 7203. So pick up your phone, open the iMessaging app or open the messaging app and text yes to 301 200 7200 7203. Sorry, because the journey to creating wealth begins now and begins today. So, on that note, I'm going to open it up for questions. I see some questions were already coming in, and all the questions from LinkedIn, please bring them up. Good question. Can you break down how returns are typically distributed to investors, like monthly or annually? Thanks, John. That's a great question. We typically distribute returns on a quarterly basis. So you have returns in two forms. You have returns from the cash flow. That is after we pay all the debt, the cash that is left over, it gets distributed on a quarterly basis. And then we have returns that comes from the appreciation that you get at the end of the business plan. So you get your returns on a quarterly basis. Like the returns I showed as examples from our other investors, those are from the quarterly distributions. And when we exit out of the asset, they'll get their initial investment back, plus their portion of the appreciated value. So you're talking about achieving anywhere on that asset, they're going to end up earning at least 20% average annual return. How does someone who invests using solo 401k benefit from taxes and depreciation paper loss? Hi, Akil. That's a great question. Unfortunately, if you invest with your solo 401k, you cannot benefit from the depreciation. Why the IRS provides great benefits from this asset, they're not stupid. They're not going to let you use two tax advantages for the same thing. So you cannot use a tax advantage account and still get depreciation from that. Do we get tax benefits every year? Yes, you do. But the most of it comes up front. With the accelerated, right now, it's 40% that you get year one, then the rest you get it broken down every year. But if it gets changed with the new tax laws and you're able to get all of that up front year one, so you get all the tax benefits the first year. And the great thing is, even if you do not use it all, that first year it does not go away. So you could use it. It's banked. You can use it the next year or the year after. Actually, you want to be able to capitalize on it and get all of it up front so that you can use it. And if you need more, you can invest in other assets and then you can use it that way. So it doesn't go away. So even if you get the 40,000 in depreciation loss year one and you don't use it all year one, the balance gets carried over to the next year. Any more questions, team? LinkedIn, YouTube, any more questions from that end?
I think that's all the questions we have for now.
You have 4 questions? Go ahead.
All the questions we have for now.
What's needed to reserve a spot? Akil, just click on the Learn More link at the top. I believe you and I have also spoken in the past. Just click on the Learn More link on the top, and our team will help you get your spot reserved. Adi, you said you had some questions?
And no questions on LinkedIn. We have some comments. Our team is responding to them there. But as far as questions goes, I think so far that's all we have.
Okay. Somebody asked from Denver, rounding up at the office, will the session be recorded to rewatch and ask questions?
We replied to him.
Yes, this session is recorded. You're gonna get a link in your email if you registered for this to get the session so you can rewatch it. And again, our team is very accessible. This platform was created for you, 9 to 5 professionals, for our other colleagues, so you can learn about these assets. We've dedicated our life to go out there, get the information, build the teams, find the assets for you. So you have any questions, join our community. Come ask as many questions as you want. Bring your friends, invite your family members. Teach this information to your kids. Our philosophy is this: um, we truly believe that the journey to creating wealth really begins with growing your mind. And true generational wealth is not just in the assets that we acquire, but most importantly, it's in the knowledge that we acquire. The knowledge that we acquire and we could pass down to our future generations. Because we came into the understanding of these assets from our own curiosity. Our parents did not know that they could invest in this. My mom is one of the hardest working nurses that I've ever met out here. She was working 16-hour shifts every single day. She never knew that she could have access to this. So it is very important that we understand this knowledge and we not just keep it to ourselves, but we pass it down to the future generations, to our friends, to our colleagues, so they could learn about this, understand how these assets work, and start creating wealth for themselves so they don't have to keep exchanging that time for money. Do you offer any educational resources for new investors? Absolutely, John. For our new investors, once you become an investor, one of the first things you get after investment is a membership to the Beyond 9 to 5 Club. This is an exclusive community that we've created. It's a paid community because we want just serious people on there. Very minimal fee, but once you get in, you learn a lot about investing, a lot of knowledge. We have courses on there that you have access to, and we come on that platform. We're going to be coming on that platform frequently to answer any questions, do Q&A sessions, continue the education, share what the new things that are happening in the market. We have presentations almost every other week, every week, and that frequency is going to increase. So yeah, please join the Beyond 9 to 5 Club and start learning. Pass down this information, share this information so that others can learn and we could get access to, and we could learn from each other, right? As much as we learn about this, as long as we immerse ourselves in this, as much as we build networks, and as long as we're going to continue to learn about this, we do not know it all, right? So we do not know it all. You might come into something that makes sense. Please, let's share the information. Let's share the wealth. Let's learn from each other. Let's leverage OPM. Let's leverage each other and build massive, massive amounts of wealth for ourselves and our families as well. So all right. It is going to almost 8 o'clock. Do we have any other questions?
For now,
It
I
looks
think that's
like we don't
all.
have any other questions. Please, Adi, drop the link again to the Growth Pack View link again on the screen one more time. If you're listening to this, at home later on, and you're unable to click on this link, see the email. There's going to be a link over there. This is one of the best assets we've brought to market. If you want to invest, click on that link so our team member can get you onboarded and get you before it fills up. So again, I thank you all for listening to me at this presentation tonight. I feel really, really energized every time I get to talk about this because this is really, really powerful stuff. So thank you for taking the time. Share this information with your friends. My name is Leslie Awasom on behalf of our CEO, Dr. Julius Oni, my partner and our Chief Growth Officer, Mr. Tenny Tolofari, our entire team at Excite Capital. To have this presentation happen for you every time, it takes a tremendous amount of work. And a lot of the people that are in the back end putting in all this work, you guys don't get to see them, but we truly, truly appreciate them. And they put a huge amount of work for us to be able to acquire these assets because, like I mentioned, it takes a crazy amount of work and review for us to be able to find these assets. So I cannot say thank you enough to our entire team at Excite Capital, our team here at Excite Capital, all of our property managers, all of our asset managers. We say thank you. And to all of you watching, thank you again for taking the time. And Addy, you can hit us up with the 9 to 5 song. Have a good night, everybody.
Wake up early, catch the morning train. Same routine playing like a broken refrain. Monday to Friday, clock just ticks away. Years are passing while my dreams fade away. 9 to 5, eating up my life. 9 to 5, cutting like a knife. But I refuse to let it be my story. I'm turning pain into into glory. Started learning, staying after hours, becoming wise, gaining hidden powers. Every meeting became my classroom, yeah. Every challenge showed me who I am, yeah. Yeah. Took the system that held me down, flipped it over, now I wear the crown. Experience became my greatest tool. Now I'm teaching others all these rules, yeah. 9 to 5, transform my life, yeah. 9 to 5, cutting like a knife, oh. But I refuse to let it be my story. I'm turning pain into glory. 9 to 5, eating up my life, 9 to 5, cutting like a knife. But I refuse to let it be my story. I'm turning pain into glory. Started learning, staying after hours, becoming wise, gaining hidden powers. But I refuse to let it be my story. I'm turning pain into glory. Started learning to glory. Started learning to glory. Started learning to glory. Started learning, stay learning. It came my down, me down, leaving it behind. Oh, but I'm 9 to 5. Beyond, beyond, beyond the grind. Beyond, beyond, leaving it behind. Oh, but I'm 9 to 5.